Hello everybody, we're back here on Call of the Wild the Angler, and there is a really awesome update that came out today. And honestly, it came a couple days early if I'm not mistaken. They had said in a post on Steam that we would be getting an update on the 24th with variations as well as a Halloween update. And instead, we ended up getting it today, which is the 22nd, so that is super cool. Super awesome to see that we got this update a little bit early, and man, I'm excited to get into it. Let's see what we can get for these different fish variations. I'm up at a spot to catch some golden trout, because from the looks of it, golden trout look pretty cool now. They look pretty sick, and we can actually get a little preview of one of the variations of each fish here, so we can go through and kind of see them all. Some of them look better than others, not gonna lie. I like the rainbow trout in comparison to the old rainbow trout, but it is a little, maybe a little bit extreme, but definitely better than it was. We got the orid, there's the lake trout, obviously the golden trout, and then we got the cutthroat, which looks interesting. Honestly, I'm gonna have to fish for them more to see, really, because there's multiple variations of every fish now, which means that what we see here in the handbook isn't going to be what all of them look like. There's a green sunfish. There is a sturgeon. That looks pretty much the same as it did before. The sauger looks pretty sick, though. I like that. I've never caught sauger IRL because they don't exactly exist in Oregon, as far as I understand. But, or maybe they do. Maybe they do. I'm not 100% sure, but I've never seen them. And, yeah, they're kind of interesting. This looks very similar to what I did before, so I assume we'll have to catch a bunch of these to really figure out what the kokanee look like. We got the northern pike, which looks very different than it did. We've got the yellow perch. There is the tiger muskie. There's the freshwater drum. That one looks pretty similar. Same with the channel cat, looks very similar. Then we've got the white crappie, which I think I'm gonna just go out on a limb and guess that this is not a normal variation. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, is this maybe a Halloween fish? Did they maybe like accidentally show a Halloween fish as the thumbnail for the white crappie? They might have. Same with the black crappie. Like, to me, this doesn't look like normal scarring. I feel like this has to be for some kind of event, right? Because they said they're doing a Halloween event. They never said what was in it, though, so I assume this is a possibility. Then we got burbot right here, which look wild. They look wild. Then we got bluegill, which are looking pretty nice. We've got the rock bass. We've got the smallmouth bass right there. And the largemouth bass. Now, like I said, there is multiple variations for every single fish on Golden Ridge Reserve right now. Eventually, once we get the Japan map as well, they said there is going to be a bunch of different variations for every single fish on Japan as well, which is super, super sick. This is the post right here on screen where they talked about that. The fact that they're going to have variations on release for Japan, and they showed some of the koi looking pretty good. There's also some new menu options that we're going to take a look at real quick. So let's look at this right now. You guys can kind of see how everything is. We got the HUD up right now. You got all the different elements on screen, but there's a new option. You can go into accessibility, go to fishing HUD, and put it to minimal, or even turn it completely off if you want to. This one, honestly, I like it. Minimal might be what I end up doing, because that looks clean, man. Minimal looks pretty clean, and then obviously you can turn it off completely if you would prefer to do that. Even with it off, it still shows the technique thing, though, which I don't know if I like that. That kind of seems out of place. Somebody wants it off, then I assume they want everything off. And there we go. Now it has the, like, different keys that you can press back on screen. I think we're going to keep it at minimal, though, man. I like minimal the best, because I like to be able to see, you know, the different HUD elements, but I want them to be just the necessary ones. Like, I already know the controls, so at this point for me, it's perfect to have it on minimal. Now let's try to catch some of these fish. Let's see if we can get ourselves some golden trout, maybe some rainbow trout, whatever else is up here. There might even be cutties up here. I can't remember. We're at a spot that I have not fished in a while, so we're in for a treat today. The target's golden trout, but we'll see what else we can hook into as well. There we go. We got a fish. That seems like a rainbow. Yeah, it's definitely a rainbow. All right, let's scoop that bad boy up in the net. Hey, wow, okay. Okay, I like that. That actually looks kind of nice, not gonna lie. it's a little bit less like unrealistic looking than before. Because let's be honest, the old rainbow trout, they were probably one of the worst models in the game. I know a lot of people that always complained about how those things looked. So it's nice to see that they got a bit of a revamp, as well as, you know, every single fish on Golden Ridge. Come on. There we go. We got another fish on. What are you? That's a golden trout. Nice. Oh gosh. Oh, what happened there? Move along. That was a weird bug. That's pretty though. So this is definitely different than the one that is in like the preview screen. Definitely is different than the preview screen one. It's got white on the tips of its bottom fins. It's got lots of spotting on its like back half of the body. Pretty sick. And also, guys, I do want to just real quickly clarify that I'm not necessarily judging these fish on how realistic they look 100%. There's some where I appreciate the realism to them, but there's some where even if it's not realistic, if it looks good, I'll probably still be happy with it. So I just figured I'd clarify that for any of you that may not know how I do things here. If I think something looks good, sometimes I don't care if it's unrealistic. That is an orid trout. That one's kind of dull looking. I've never caught orid trout in real life, so I'm not 100% sure what they can look like. But, ooh, it's got a scar on the tail. You see that? There's a scar on the tail. That's sick. So a little bit darker than the others. Definitely my least favorite of the three fish we've caught today. But I did like the scar on the tail. The scar was nice. Now, as we continue fishing, there's a few more patch notes to read off. They added the option to select offline and online while you're actually at the reserve selection screen. Ooh, that's a good fish. Accessibility options to have extended catch animations on or off. Ooh, that's a pretty one. Holy. That's another orid. That looked different. Oh, yeah, that's definitely different. No scar on the tail. It's got more white spots on it. That's kind of cool. But anyway, yeah. Accessibility options to have extended catch animations on or off. A fishing technique UI, now the same size as the reeling speed and drag UI. Players can now open the chat box on PC when a fishing rod is equipped. Caitlin's going to love that fix there. Stability fixes and crashes and other bug fixes. So that is the patch notes that we got for today's update. The big thing was the fish variations, and they are definitely the star of the show. But, you know, there is some nice things in there. The ability to turn off the catch animations if you don't like them. The ability to go to minimal HUD or completely turn it off now. Some nice touches for sure. I'm excited and very happy that they've done that. I think it was something that needed to be done, especially with like the HUD. The whole HUD thing is very, very nice. Because I've never liked the little elements on screen like telling me what button to press for everything, because I already know that. I already know what buttons to press. I just want to fish and, you know, have it look good. And so it's very nice that I can now turn off the unnecessary HUD elements that I don't need anymore. There we go. We got another fish on. What about this one? Is it a big one? Oh, that's a rainbow, I think. I think I saw the stripe on it. Oh, yeah, that's a rainbow. That's a darker colored one. Wow, that is... that looks like a red-banded rainbow trout. If you guys didn't know, here in Oregon, there are a few rivers, and I assume some lakes as well, but I mainly just know about the rivers. There's a few rivers that have something called the red-banded rainbow trout, which are just rainbow trout that have a much more prominent stripe on the side that is like a much more vibrant red and like larger than most rainbow trout. And that's kind of what this reminds me of, but even this is a little bit more of an extreme version of that pretty much. It's still sick just to see some variation, though. I mean, both the rainbow trout we've caught have looked completely different. Both the orids, or maybe it was 3 orids, the 2 or 3 orids that we caught, I can't remember which, all looked different. The golden trout looked different than the one that we saw in the preview screen in the handbook, so really awesome to see. What do we got on now? Is that another rainbow? I wouldn't mind if it was, honestly. Yeah, I think it is. Oh, it's a cutty. So there's one little cutthroat. Ah! Not my favorite variation. I'll be honest, I don't like the kind of like weird black splotches on the side. As somebody who has caught so many cutthroats throughout their life, this is not really the most normal looking thing to see on a cutthroat. At least here in Oregon, it's not a super normal thing to see. Now, it can happen. Do not get me wrong. There are cutthroat trout that have like the black marks on them like that. But in most cases, it's not going to be like just one of them in the center and it being that big, from what I've seen personally, at least. So that is something that maybe, I guess as time goes on, I'll have to have it grow on me or something. There is another rainbow trout. Is that one different too? I think it is. That one's kind of nice. I actually like this one. I actually do like this variation. I think, honestly, the fish variations are going to be one of those things where it's going to be a mixed bag. There's going to be a lot of variations that I really like, and a lot of them that I think look a little odd. And obviously, the more of, or I guess, what's the best way to say it? And I guess the fish that I've actually fished for a lot in real life are probably the ones that I'm going to be most critical of. And for me, that's a lot of the trout. A lot of the trout are probably going to be what I'm most critical of. Like, there's another cutthroat. It's got that big spot on the side again, but this time it's a little bit farther up. Not too bad. Okay, so I just took a second to do a little research on what cutthroat trout look like in Wyoming. And I gotta say, I didn't see a single image of a Wyoming cutthroat that has black spots on the side that big, like those black blotches. They definitely don't really seem to have that very commonly. Now, I have seen a picture or two before where a cutthroat was like that, but it's not a common thing. And I mean, we just caught two in a row that had that on them. Two different variations that both had a big black spot on the side, or a big black blotch, I guess it is. Not really a spot, it's like a big blotch. But okay, so my feedback to the developers on this: make that a rare thing on the cutthroats. I think the cutthroats need a little bit of a rework. I mean, there is so many images online of cutthroat trout, and just with a quick search, you can see that not many of them have that type of a pattern on them. I mean, maybe people just aren't posting them, but if you want to go for like variations that are actually in the area that this map is based on, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it is based in Wyoming. I think there's a sign over, I think it's over here that says it. That is not a very common thing to see on a cutthroat. So I would remove some of the blacks, like blotches on the side. The cutthroats primarily have like more of the like brownish gold colorations and, you know, like black spots on them, and the red on the side sometimes, red around the throat, obviously. So yeah, I'd say as of now, the cutthroats, I think, still need a little bit of work. But I mean, just having different variations is a nice step in the right direction. And who knows, maybe there's a bunch of cutthroat variations that don't have that. Maybe I've just got unlucky with catching two of them back to back, but I don't know, considering when I go to the handbook, it shows my diamond one having the same thing. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that, man. Of course, when I've got food in my mouth. Well, I'll be honest, I don't know what whitefish look like in real life, so I can't really judge them based on realism. But it looks cool. I do like the way it looks. Well, on to the cutthroat spot we go, because I want to see what other variations they have of the cutties. I gotta know how many of them have those black blotches on the side, because if it's all of them, I'm going to be a little bit sad. If it's all of them, I'm going to be a little bit sad, man. But we'll see. Let's see what we can actually hook into. Fish on. What do we got here? So, that looks like a cutty. Yeah, it's a cutty. Oh, gosh, why do they all have this? Oh, why do they all have this, man? I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how to feel about this at all. I mean, like I said, when you look up Wyoming cutthroat trout, there's a few here that have these types of blotches, but they're very faintly colored, way more faintly colored than this, and there's not very many of them. The majority of cutthroat trout that you're going to see are just going to have the like reds, the browns as like their colors. They're like base palette colors, right? And then they're going to have like the spotting on them. Some of them have more spots that are smaller. Some of them have less spots that are larger, but they don't have this. And I mean, I've never caught a single cutthroat in real life that has this type of coloration, that has these blotches. And I've caught probably close to 1,000 cutthroat in my life, because that was pretty much what I did all summer. Throughout every summer of my childhood was I'd go out and fish for cutthroat trout pretty much every day of the summer. So I've seen a lot of these things, and there is so many different variations that you can get, and none of them look like this from what I've caught and from what I've seen while doing research just a second ago on what they look like in Wyoming. So I don't know, man. I feel like the cutthroats need to be tweaked again. There is another rainbow. Another one of the darker rainbow trout. I do gotta say, I think so far, the one that I've seen the most improvement in is definitely the rainbow trout. I think the rainbow trout are miles better than they used to be. Definitely, like, way better than they were at one point. There we go. We got another fish on. I am kind of curious for whenever we'll hook into a brook trout, because they look pretty sick from what we've seen in, like, the preview. I mean, this one's a little better, but it still has that giant blotch on the side. Man, oh man. This one definitely looks better, though. This might be the best variation so far for the cutty. I think this is the best cutty so far. There we go. Another one on. That looks like it's a cutty as well. No, that's a rainbow. Got another nice little rainbow on. All right. So that one's kind of like in between. It's not super prominent red stripe like the one we caught, but it's also not as dark as some of the others. It's like right in the middle. This is a cool one. I mean, so far we have not got two of the same rainbow trout as far as I can tell. They appear to be completely different as of now, which is nice. Really, really nice to see. You know what, guys? Now that I'm thinking of it, I don't know why I didn't say this earlier, but let me know in the comments if you have seen any cutthroats in real life that look like that with the black splotches on the side. Is that maybe something from a different part of the world that just isn't something that you see here in Oregon or in Wyoming from, you know, the little research I did on Wyoming cutthroats? I wasn't able to find anything like that in that. I've never caught one of those in real life. Is it something that is in a different state or maybe even not even in the US? Let me know. Let me know if you've ever seen cutthroats that look like that. Honestly, at this point, I think I've caught enough to kind of give my first impressions to you guys on what I think of this update. I think, honestly, overall, it is a massive step in a good direction. Now, it's obviously not perfect. There is a lot of fish variations that could use some improvements, but it's so much better than what it was before this update. Like, the fact that we even have variations is huge. It's going to add so much replayability, so much variety. We're going to be targeting diamonds with all the different colors and stuff now, so, like, there's so much more replayability than there was before this. And, to be fair, even with the cutthroats, they were never the best looking fish in the game by a long shot. The cutthroats, in my opinion, were one of the worst fish models and colorations that we had before this update. And so they didn't even really get set back with these variations not looking the craziest for the cutties. If anything, they're just, you know, slightly better version of the same thing. But I gotta say, like, overall, positive update. A lot of things are really good in it. The UI element changes are nice, but the biggest thing, you know, being those fish variations, adding so much more variety. And even with the ones that I'm not a big fan of, it's still better than not having variation like we did just a day ago. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed this first look at all the different fish variations. And yeah, or at least the ones that we caught. We're going to be doing some streaming here, so if you're watching this video on the day it releases, I'll be live at some point today, not 100% sure when. I'll probably even maybe do 2 streams since today's Tackle Tuesday, I believe. if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is Tackle Tuesday, so you guys might get 2 streams today. We'll see. But subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.